so I don't think it's a big ask to have that. G'day. Recently Adam from the Brisbane channel, shout out to you Adam. Adam's one of the Twisted Visions entries usually, that you've seen a few times. Introduced us all to the new Kentfaith concept variable neutral density filter, the filter range. A little background info for those that don't know. I was a professional photographer for decades, and this is going back decades ago. Of course, the way technology advances, things have changed now. So back then, when I used neutral density filters, which wasn't too often, they didn't have the technology they do now. You'd have to buy individual neutral density filters that screw in front of your lens. Now they have variable filters. So I thought I'd try one using Adam's link. And yeah, I, unlike Adam, just bought the basic Nano-B series to try out. I did order directly from Kentfaith Concept. Even though I found some on eBay cheaper, I thought, well, maybe they're Chinese knockoffs. I mean, I think they're all made in China anyway, supposedly using Japanese glass. But I didn't take the risk. I paid a bit more and went to the proper site. And this is the first chance I've had it for a week, to try it out. And by the way, I'm taking a bit of a risk because I'm not using the dead cat on the stick or any other windscreen. So hopefully the wind noise won't be too bad. So basically I didn't know whether to put this on my other channel, Steve Mac Clips and Bits, like I did with my new microphone that I'm currently using. You can check out the link on my other channel, Steve Mac Clips and Bits, if you want to see the microphone test. Or I thought, well, this is a bigger channel of course, and there are more people potentially I can help by sharing the info. So we'll do that, and we'll go through a gradient test. I'll put on screen the actual density if I can find out the info. Basically, it's the idea, for those that don't know, skip forward if you do, it's to bring the brightness down of the background. And basically, yeah, you'll see by the test hopefully. What I'm doing is what I always do. I have a light just down here, a fill light. Otherwise I'd be pretty black by the time I turn the filter down to darker stops. And in this case, for the same reason, I have the camera set to spot metering, meaning it's taking the light reading from basically here versus everywhere. So let's get into that. This may be of interest to you that are into cameras or making YouTube videos, etc. Hey guys and girls, sorry to interrupt the flow. It's the next morning. I realised when I was syncing up the audio and video yesterday, after filming that around about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, frankly, all except the intro without a filter, except what I've got now, the standard Skylight 1B filter that I always use to protect the lens, frankly looks like shit. And that's because I wasn't making this as a technical video, so I set the camera to default, which was where the camera automatically adjusts the shutter and the exposure. Currently I'm on my normal aperture mode. So if you are using a neutral density filter, you'll probably have to mess around with the settings and set it for something like 100 ISO. So consequently the test you're about to see has a lot of grain in it. Or that's what we used to say in the film days. Now it's called noise. So please forgive that. The test is about the actual filter anyway, not so much the technical side of things. So yeah, other bits, like cutaway shots, I had the filter on probably halfway, which should be about ND 32. I always use a filter on my drone anyway, probably ND 16 I think it is, and it obviously makes some pretty good spectacular shots too. Of course, back in the day when I was a photographer, I was never taking photos of myself. Of course, unlike my test video, ideally you should be well lit from the front or off to the sides at up to a 45-degree angle. So with that in mind, Remember, this filter is the very basic version of the range that they sell. Check out Adam's video, I'll put a link in the description, because he's got it set up correctly. Mind you, he's using the premium version of the filter, which is about 4 times the cost. It's a lot of money for a filter, in my opinion. I have always stuck to Japanese brands like Hoya. Anyway, sorry to interrupt the flow, back to it now. Cheers. The Nano-B series lacks the hard stops of the True Color series, so it's easy to go past the final point, as you'll find out. So this is how you'd normally see me with no filter. So this is the first position, which is minimum, and this is the first position, number 1, and this is position 2, this is position number 3, this is position number 5, this is position number 6, this is position number 7, this is position number 8, this is position number 9, and this is position number 10, this is the second last position, number 11, don't go past max, and this is the very last position. I'm not sure what gradient that is, but I'm probably looking a bit dark now. Well, I wasn't too happy with that test, so I'm going to put this variable filter on and do a fresh test. One without my ugly dial in the picture. It wasn't ideal, the setup I used for that particular instance. And of course today, this is a separate day again. I have neighbours mowing and aircraft going over. Let's try with the scenery shot. The problem with this variable filter, there are no actual markings in the gradients between minimum and maximum. And then you have another dot there, but then you have maximum is there. I mean, surely they could have etched the number of the neutral density filter that you're selecting. So I don't think it's a big ask to have that. So I'm not sure how well you can see it. So right there is minimum. It's a tiny little line, and as you progress, you see there's no detents. There's nothing stopping like on a particular thing, which is not a deal killer, but it would be really nice to have something etched there to know what you're actually pointing to. So it's a bit of an overcast day today, day 3 of filming, as I interrupt this video again, and but we've got some cloud. But we'll do a little test here. So this is minimum. I'm not going to define each stop because I can only guess without a marking. I assume this is ND2. Let's wind it up slowly. Tell me if you see any difference. That's about halfway. I'm filming this, by the way, with the camera this time set to 125 ISO. So coming up here is about when you really notice it getting darker. Almost coming to the end, and that's the second last stop, and this is right on maximum. So there you go. If you go anywhere past maximum like this, as happened on tests, you get. After that, of course, you've seen what happens. She comes back round. So you can spin it in whatever direction and you'll end up starting again. So we're heading around the second time. Look, we've got a dark spot there. We're way up the spec. Okay, coming back up to minimum. So that's minimum. Should be ND2 by my reckoning. Let's just go backwards and forwards a little bit to see if you notice. Really, that's it, spot on maximum. Wind it back again. and one which should be ND2. Of course, the other problem you may encounter, depending on the camera, you can't put the lens hood over. I don't have a filter that size for my big Canon, so I can't show you. This is on the Panasonic. And an even bigger problem is you can't put the lens cap on, which I'm not a fan of because I like to cover my lens in between shots, unless you piggybacked it the other way and put your UV or skylight filter in front of that. But the issue with that, with this, let's say budget line, is there's no pretty little machined positioning lever there like the premium line has. So even if you could put that on, you kind of have to somehow reach in there, and this is a slimline filter, to adjust it. So to me that's a bit of an issue. Now the premium line, such as you've seen on Adam's channel, or if you haven't, go and check it out, comes with a fancy little case. This one just comes with a box, which is fine, and this plastic case, which I found a little bit awkward to open. Having said that, it's not a deal breaker. I just reflect back onto, like some of these are nearly 40 years old, different lens size, but the hard plastic cases that where, for example, used, probably still use, good enough to throw in your camera kit or your pocket, protects the filter. I mean, price wise, have to be fair. I mean, this one's now years old as well for my Canon. That's a good enough case to carry around. Now this UV filter, which was over 10 years ago I bought it, that was $55 then. So if you imagine you did have to buy, in this case, 9 different neutral density filters, definitely it's worth paying the money for a variable. In this case it's ND2 to 400, but like I said, you can't see anything on the filter to know where you're at exactly. So definitely worth buying a variable filter, but versus individual filters, it costs you a fortune. Even if you go the premium filter for around about 130 Australian dollars upwards, depending on the size, that's definitely worth it. But yeah, I'm not convinced the Nano-B series, the base model series, is all that good. I naturally watched a few videos. These have been out for a couple of years now before I decided to get one, and they all showed a noticeable difference between stops, just not in this case, only towards the end. Anyway, back to the original wrap-up, which, as I said earlier, was shot on automatic, so I don't blame the grain on the filter itself. So I hope there was of some interest. Check out Adam's site, the Brisbane channel, for his video on it, and you'll get a better comprehensive look at it. And also he uses the higher quality or higher range of filter, which has little stops that you can't accidentally go too far, which this one doesn't have. So let me know in the comments anyway what you think the lighting is like, because I'll use it as a reference for future videos where I'm filming here in Studio A, as I call it. Alright, cheers, see you soon.